Hi, everybody. I'm Coach Rebecca Smith, and I'm excited today to talk about something maybe a little controversial. So, many people, I would say even most people in my industry, in the sports psychology industry, tell athletes to develop a toolbox of techniques that you can use that will help you improve focus and confidence and motivation, and then learn how to cope with big emotions when they come up. And then you can be perfect on command. That's sort of what people are looking for. They want to be consistent and they want to be perfect and they want to be able to do it when their coach asks them to do it. And then everything will be wonderful. Okay. And I'm exaggerating a little, but stay with me. So I want you to think, have you ever been told to visualize something and it didn't work? Have you ever been told to take a deep breath and it didn't work? Have you ever been told to be positive or stop being so negative or say some affirmations and it didn't work? Have you ever been told to journal and it didn't work? Or have you ever been told to stop crying or relax or don't worry and it didn't work? Okay. I'm raising my hand. All of those things. I have tried all those things and people have told me to do all those things. And at a time in my life, they did not work. So what the athlete is hearing when their parent suggests mental training is that they think I'm doing mental training because I'm trying to learn how to be perfect on command. No crying, no balking, no bailing. I'm going to learn how to distract myself from my fear, make like Nike and just do it. I'm going to just be able to like chuck skills and it's going to be so great. Okay. And so like, again, we're dealing with like, this is not the right approach. Okay. Really what the parents want are how do we get her back to being perfect like before? How do we get her to be confident like before? How do we get her to do what her coach asks her to do right when they ask her like before? Okay. And some of the questions I get from parents sound like, how do we get her to stop crying when she's freaking out at practice? How do we get her to go for the skill again right away? Coach or the athlete would ask, how do I get myself to start doing what my coach asks of me? How do I just go for it? Teach me how to just go for it. So a lot of the time when people first come to me, they're like, she needs a skill back right now because we have a competition in 2 weeks, or she needs it now because she used to be able to do it and she should be able to do it. So the reason these are all good intentions, right? All those tools, great. All these questions, great. Yes, of course, I want you to be able to be successful. I want you to have what you want. But there's a reason why they don't get you what you're looking for, and they actually can make the problem worse. Because what's happening is when you're trying to just get the athlete to be able to go for the skill again, you're putting a Band-Aid on the actual issue, what's actually causing the lack of confidence. And if you're able to sort of temporarily get an athlete to like hold it together and do the skill, maybe for a meet or for a practice or for a month, you're actually kicking the can down the road. And there, at some point, the athlete is going to have to deal with the real issue, or like me, it will take them out of their sport. So it's not about becoming more compliant. And now I know as a former coach, I loved coaching those athletes who did everything I asked them to do and they didn't make waves and they didn't talk back and they didn't get scared and they just did what I asked of them. Compliance is a wonderful trait in an athlete that you're coaching. I loved the perfect ones. I loved the ones that scored well. But let's be real, like that's not the norm. And also that's not necessarily good. There are a lot, I want you to think, do you know anybody like this? A lot of miserable, compliant athletes out there who they don't have a voice. They don't have their own voice, at least. They don't understand consent. And when they're not perfect, they feel worthless and they feel like failures. So if there's an athlete out there who has been used to succeeding, yes, coach, sure, how high? I'll try it. Let's go. Yes, I'll do whatever you ask, coach. But they start to have this feeling inside of them that maybe it doesn't feel safe or doesn't feel right or they don't feel ready. But the coach is asking them, so they're going to do it. They can only go so long in that state of internal conflict before an issue is going to come up. So yes, you could come up with some techniques that would allow that athlete to ignore the fear or hold it together temporarily, but eventually they're going to start freezing up, they're going to start avoiding, and they're going to start having some reactions that really that take that perfect athlete and turn them into the head case of the team because they feel like their whole value comes from being the best or being perfect. And if they don't solve the real problem, this will continue to be an issue. So like I said before, no amount of techniques meant to make you superficially perfect will solve this problem. So the actual problem is that you feel like you have to be perfect in order to feel like you're good enough or you're valuable or like you belong. And to an adolescent athlete, all you need in the world is to feel like you're good enough and you're going to be okay and you belong and you have value. And so when at a young age, you connect that when I am succeeding, when I have positive outcomes, then I have value. But then they hit a wall. Every athlete hits a wall. Everybody. At some point where their confidence is shaken and they're like, whoa, wait, that didn't feel right. Or, that's interesting. So what happens when that first kicks in, that first sort of like, I'm mortal, oh gosh, an injury or just some sort of upset or mistake or failure, then they go into this fight or flight response in their brain. And a lot of coaches and parents will be like, what are you afraid of? Like, you're not going to get hurt. You're fine. But the fear is not being afraid of hurting themselves, interestingly enough. Sometimes it is, but for the most part, it's this fear that they're going to have to endure disappointment, or they're going to be left behind, or they won't be lovable, or they won't be worthy of their coach's love, their coach's time, their parents' love if they are not performing. So in order to get, true confidence, true lasting confidence, and to get to that place, that like 7-year-old state of mind where everything's just fun and you're just going to try it because why not? You have to have a complete perspective change. This is not something that like a little bit of visualizing and some affirmations are going to solve for you. This is not like a workbook type of thing. This is, you have to first get aware that this is what's happening, that you have put so much emphasis on your need to be perfect and your need to please and your need to be exactly what everybody else thinks you need to be. You also need to find your true value. You need to know where your worth really comes from, which will prevent the fight or flight from coming up when things don't go your way. Because let's face it, we are in a world full of unknowns. We always have been, but we especially are now. And then you're not going to have the fight or flight when things go funky, because you're going to go, oh, things are going funky. I believe in myself no matter what, because the outcome is not the most important thing. So then I don't have to have these big emotions about things not going my way, because things are not always going to go my way. So then you can embrace the imperfection that is inherent in all of us. Then you don't have to fear failure. And then you can deal with pressure so much better. So that's the real solution. That's what I want for you, is I want you to be able to prevent that perception of failure that prevents you from wanting to make mistakes, that makes you really tense, that makes it unfun, that makes none of these mental tools stick, because you feel like you have to be perfect at mental training so you can be perfect at gymnastics, so you can be lovable the other way around, where you can embrace and accept your mistakes. You can see them as part of the process. You know how to bounce back quickly. And then you're not afraid of failure because you realize it's one of the most important teachers that you have in life. So that once the fight or flight has receded and you're able to think clearly, then you can breathe, you can visualize, you can say something positive, and you can trust yourself to just perform. So imagine a year from now, your athlete, or you, if you're the athlete, freezes up on a skill. They go, oof, they have one of those like confidence shaker moments. They're like, ugh. And then next, they know exactly why it happened. They can find the clues. They can communicate with their coach. They then are not worried. They don't make it a big deal. They know exactly what to do next. And then they know what the next baby step is to get the confidence building, to build the momentum again. They know that they don't need to be perfect. They know that perfection isn't even real, but they're getting better every day. And they can trust themselves to speak up, to own their truth, to see when things are not right, to sniff out abusive coaching or unfair coaching practices or, teammates who are toxic, and they can speak up and they can stand in their truth knowing I am not my sport, but I'm really darn well good at it. All right. So It's not about the Band-Aids, you guys. It's about that relationship with yourself. That is the key. And now here's the really cool thing. When you solve that relationship with yourself, not only do you get better at sport, you get better outcomes, even though you've taken the emphasis off of them, but you get better in life. You get more confident, you get more resilient, you get more flexible, and then you can just go with whatever life has to give you. So that's what I hope for you. Not just yes, I will teach you the tools and the techniques, but you got to get right with yourself in order for them to really work. All right. Thanks for listening. I'll see you soon.